The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, episodes 1 through 3. We got a name drop on both The Lord of the Rings and The Rings of Power. The question is, was this off to a better start than season 1? Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back for Geek Variants. Cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, The Rings of Power, episodes 1 through 3. And look, I'm just going to be flat out honest. Episodes 1 through 3 for me of this series hit. I think overall, I know how everyone feels about season 1. The lore was off, some of the costumes were wrong, the use of CGI wasn't good. Look, I get it. I hear you. It's an adaptation. Think of this more or less as fanfic of Lord of the Rings. And I understand people will be like, this is an abomination to Tolkien and his world. Look, Tolkien's long since passed, and I understand his legacy is important, but look, it's a TV show. It's an adaptation. Liberties will be taken. And I think as far as liberties were taken, I don't think we got anything crazy from these 3 episodes. Season 2 seems to be sticking a lot more tightly to the lore than what we had before. Some of the way they've gone about telling things, because they know that season 1 more or less was off in certain regards, that they missed the necessary mark to have a good or concrete series to build upon, were missed. And with this season, it looks like they're trying to rectify a lot was going on. Galadriel was everyone's biggest problem with season 1. Her character arc was questionable at best. She was nothing of the fair or Galadriel the Wise or any of these things. In this season, while she's still starting off obstinate, the now that fact that she has her ring of power on, she seems to be more aloof. She seems to be working towards being more ethereal. She seems to be working towards being more fair. She's taking steps in the correct direction, at least, to rectify a lot of the season 1 mistakes. On top of that, Adar, while we replaced the actor, picked up right where Adar of season 1 left off. If you didn't know that they changed actors, now you do. He played the part beautifully and carried on as if nothing even happened. Adar is planning and scheming and devising and working through a lot of the different things going on. And it goes back in the first flashback of episode 1, goes to show that, yes, he in fact did meet Sauron in the beginning. Sauron claimed dominionship of the orcs as like, look, who else is better to serve you than me? I was the second in command. I was the guy. I was, Morgoth's chosen. So more or less, pick me. I'm your dude. And the orcs, in a moment, decided, nope, one stabbed Sauron directly in the back. Sauron ended up ending that orc, and the orc got being dragged off. And then, as the moment is being passed for his coronation, the crown is jabbed directly into Sauron, and ultimately he eventually gets jumped by all the orcs, who then proclaim Adar as the next, as the chosen, as the man of the hour to represent the orcs. And they start, calling him Lord, they start calling him Father, they start pushing for him to really be a more prominent figure in their society. And I still find it very interesting that we have an elf in charge of an army of orcs. But hey, that's just how Middle Earth politics play out, I guess. And for whatever reason, it seems they now have an elective process and they go about things a little bit differently than most of us would imagine. I would have imagined the orcs are more or less, he's the most powerful, he calls the shots. That's it. Because Sauron clearly showed his power as he was disseminating from his flesh, and then was thus reborn as this blob ooze thing that eventually became Sauron as he was taking on Halbrand's form, and then eventually we have seen Sauron now literally walk through a golden, furnace and emerge as Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, which still a little concerned about the props overall for his wig, but I will say the orcs, on the other hand, now that they're live in-person people, so much better. We have moved in a very, very promising direction. The warg even looked a little bit better than season 1. Not that the bar was set all that high. And we picked up with Wizard hanging out with Poppy, and he was hanging out with the Harfoot, and they were just having Nori. Sorry, it's like 4 a.m. Was hanging out. They were working through their adventures together, they stumble upon a map thanks to Nori, and they're able to kind of get to this well, make these moments happen while they're hanging out in Rune. And the men of Rune are cursed by this wizard who's being played by Syrian Hines, who's only referred to as the Dark Wizard, who seems to be in charge of all the other acolytes. One name I thought I would stop having to say after the Star Wars the acolyte. We're following him and making decisions based upon their master's choice in previous seasons, so they're going to see how we're going to ultimately. This wizard is very interested in our wizard, who once again I'm saying is going to be one of the blues. I know he dropped Gandalf's line, but now he's giving off less and less Gandalf energy as this season's progressing. Albeit, I think our wizard needs to have less verbal lines. I think having him as more of a mysterious character on screen really plays out more to the strengths that the actor was able to portray throughout season one. Keeping things a mystery can be good if the mystery itself is interesting. The Acolyte didn't keep the mystery going long enough because it wasn't a good mystery. This show, with the sword and both the wizard and then who in the world was Sauron, those three things played out fairly well as far as mysteries are concerned. We didn't necessarily like the results, but the mystery itself and the journey to get to that moment was interesting enough that the viewership continued to stay high enough. Because look, the more people that watch, the more we're going to continue to get of these seasons. And I hope you guys continue to watch stuff on Geek Variants and support the original IP. I think that this show is definitely going in the right direction. We've seen Durin and his folk. We saw that they're going through terrible tragedy, an earthquake due to a mountain erupting down the line caused their sunstones or the sun crevasses that were passing light through a series of channels, which were helping the crops go, collapse. The stone singers were brought in. They were tried their best to save everything. Ultimately, it culminated in more excessive failure, and now the dwarves are basically on their last rope. They were basically 3 months worth of reserve grain. That's it. That's all they had to make the situation work. Not really ideal, not the best for the people. Ultimately, Anatar and Celebrimbor have come together, and now they're like, hey, the dwarves, let's go ahead and fix them. Let's make things work out. We're going to go ahead and make things more promising. Kind of like promising that we got Círdan in, and Círdan was well delivered as far as the elves were concerned. He seems like a great mentor for Elrond. We showed him shaving his beard, which was interesting because he's one of the few elves who've had beards in Middle Earth, so it's weird that he's shaving off his calling card, but he showed that the Rings of Power do, in fact, do just that they said they would do, but also that the elves can use them intelligently, not necessarily in the manner in which Sauron would. It's like, would you rather this fall into someone else's hands and it be used for evil, or would you rather trust one of your own kin? Try and make this work. So Elrond's hand was kind of forced in the matter, and we'll see how that plays out. On the other hand, Celebrimbor is now completely against his kin. He has gone solo, all because Anatar came and was like, hey, the elves didn't send their thank you. Everyone, did they not send out high praise of your work? Did they not worship you the way in which you wanted to be, Celebrimbor? Yeah, that was literally enough to get Celebrimbor to turn on his own people. I'm not exaggerating. That is all it took. His pride and his vanity and his desire to make his work a reality and make his dreams and his visions the best thing out there definitely kind of came back to bite him right on the rump. And currently, he is in the process of being a dog chasing a car. He's not going to know what to do once he's created these rings, even though ultimately we see at the end of episode 3 that the dwarves do accept the offer. They offer the mithril in exchange for saving of the people. Albeit during the 4th is straight up like, nope, I don't trust this, Dad. I don't think this is the right move. I don't think we can make this happen. And ultimately, now we're going to have to see how that's going to play out. As well, we have Arondir who met up with Elendil. Not Elendil. He met up with our boy, Isildur. Pardon me. Elendil is his father, who's struggling over there in Numenor. But on top of that, Isildur was able to survive a spider attack thanks to his horse Beric. And now he's hanging out in Pelargrim, where now it turns out the woods have Ents. Yes, the Ents are attacking wild men, and the wild men thought that the people from Pelargrim were ambushing them. It's like, you attacked 3 of our camps. This is you. You did this. And Theo's like, nope. No, we have not. we've only been attacked by you. It's been one way. Come to find out, the trees are the ones launching these attacks. Theo is kidnapped, so now we'll have to worry about Isildur going back and getting Theo, or at least delivering the message to Arondir and be like, "Hey, your fake stepson, who you're having a very complicated relationship with, one that I'm not necessarily in favor of, is now going to have to go back and fix that potential issue." A lot of the characters experience significant growth from season one. That's all I can ask for as a fan. The writing seems to be headed in the correct direction. I'm optimistic cautiously that we're going to see a better result overall for the product moving forward. What I would like to see moving forward from you is hitting that little bit red subscribe button if you love the content and love what we've been talking about and discussed so far. You've been listening to me ramble on for about 10 and a half minutes now. Clearly, there's something you like, or you hit the dislike button. Hit me in a comment with how you feel about the series. Do you think this series sucks? Do you think this will never be anything that lives up to Tolkien's world? Is this something that even necessarily you think is going to have a good positive ending? Some big hindsights or big spoilers you think could happen this season? You know where that comment section is? Hit me up in it. I'll see you in the next one.